Hey guys, hey guys, Boston25 here watching the launch of Eutelsat Konnect and GSAT 30 on top of an Ariane 5.
We are live at the Guyana Space Centre for the launch of Eutelsat Konnect, built by Thales Alenia Space as part of the NEOSat programme, the European and French space agencies, and GSAT 30 for India, the Indian Space and Research Organisation. Our very best wishes now to everybody and all the teams as we sit back now and watch the launch.
Now this is apparently going to be one of the shortest missions I've ever seen on an Ariane 5. It's only going to be they said it's only going to be about 30 minutes. But it's normally an hour up to second payload deploy. So we shall see.
À tous de DDO, attention pour le décompte final. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, top.
Allumage Vulcan.
Allumage du Vulcain.
Allumage du EAP.
Allumage, EAP et décollage.
You can see I've watched it. I don't speak French. I've never learned to speak French in any capacity. Other than, you know, bonjour and that shit.
Début de la manœuvre en roulis. Les paramètres bord sont nominaux.
As you can see, it's cloudy as all hell over there.
And we are off.
Which is why I presume they've
Ariane 5
switched this animation view.
blazing a trail across the equatorial skies.
Propulsion est nominale.
There it is.
We see her. She's come out from the other side of the clouds, powering her way into space, heading east, out over the Atlantic Ocean.
I would like to add,
Broken the sound barrier, Mach 1. We're travelling faster than the speed of
La
sound.
trajectoire est nominale.
I would like to add that the animation you saw is not telemetry like you would see with Atlas 5
Ariane
or
now
other
continues
US
to
launch
zero out the
vehicles.
Jupiter Control Center overhead.
Instead,
Thundering overhead.
what they are is just kind of prescriptive of this is how everything should be going. I learned that from that one time when we learned that in one of the previous launches when
Trajectoire est nominale.
Ariane Space kept saying everything is fine when the thing was actually going 20 degrees off course. Like, put it into like a 20 degree inclined orbit or something like that. Maybe it wasn't 20 degrees, but it was inclined.
Nominaux, le pilotage est calme.
Know what an average car uses in a year. The range operations manager is telling us that everything's going normally, as expected. So, Eutelsat
2 minutes
Konnect
until
and
flight.
GSAT
Ow.
30 have
Wait, did I say
started their
Eutelsat?
journey. Bottom left-hand side of the screen, our altitude. We're presently
So I have not
55
misspoke.
meters above the Earth.
Trajectoire est nominale.
Getting close now to the moment when we release the boosters, and we might even see that with the naked eye. Here we go.
Séparation des EAP.
That's what it looks like from space when we had cameras on a previous launch.
Don't understand why you can't do that
You can see
again.
the two boosters moving away. They have used their propellant. They've burnt it all up, and we don't need them anymore. They are falling back to Earth.
Like, why can Ariane
Very
Space not just put actual
specific
cameras on the thing?
To ensure collision avoidance.
Was it very specific?
So the dot in the middle
Alright, are you
is the Vulcan
talking
engine.
about-
That's
Bords
our
sont normaux, la trajectoire est nominale.
launcher, and the two dots on either side are the boosters.
Now if you think that separation was
That's the
beautiful,
main stage engine
you ain't seen a
powering
curly
its
of
way from
cross.
us, powering its way into space.
I wonder when we're going to have fairing deploy.
We've already lost 3/4 of our weight in just over 2 minutes, and that's of
Séparation
course
de la quoi.
the aim of the game. The lighter we are, the faster we go. And now we're getting confirmation from the range operations manager that we have separated the fairing. And look how those parts flex as they fall. It's called the breathing mode, and we can still see that dot, the engine of the main stage, and that's what it looks like up there. These are our CGI images. our CGI images, which allow us to picture what it's like up there. The experts put very carefully planned parameters into the computer, and it generates these fantastic pictures. So everything we're looking at is what's planned
Ciel nominal, le
Yeah,
pilotage
that's
est calme.
what I just said earlier
for
on.
the flight. Some of the teams here in the Mission Control Center.
You see some people starting
On the
to fall
bottom
back in
right-hand
as the
side,
vehicle's
our
out of
speed
sight, I
is,
presume.
2 points, coming up to 3 kilometers per second. This is the new head of the CSG, Marianne Claire, the first woman to take
Les
the post,
paramètres bord sont nominaux.
and she's going to be overseeing the refurbishment of the Guyana Space Center. Last time it was refurbished was about 20 years ago in 2000, so that's going to be a very exciting project.
It'll be interesting to
Top
see
right hand
anyway.
side is our trajectory. It's the planned trajectory for the vehicle, and the white cross is our actual position of our launcher. We're looking at the main stage. At the bottom you can see the blue flame is the engine on the Vulcan.
It's a Hydrolox
The
engine.
Vulcan engine on the main stage. That's what we could see burning when we saw it travelling away from us.
It burns
This
liquid
is
hydrogen and liquid oxygen.
now the tracking station. So we lifted off from French Guiana, and Galileo, in yellow, is the tracking station that's keeping its eye on us at the moment.
La trajectoire est nominale, il reste 3 minutes de propulsion EPC.
He's telling us we've got 3 minutes left of propulsion on the main stage. This was 5 minutes and 46 seconds ago. We lifted off from the pad here at the Guyana Space Center, bang on time, 6:05 in the evening. Always hugely impressive watching an Ariane 5 lift off.
Okay, I was just going to tell you a bit about payloads. GSAT 30.
Now, over 6 minutes into the flight, our 2 satellites are heading out on their journey. We can see at the front there, Konnect, Eutelsat Konnect.
And GSAT 30 is in the Silda.
That's in the
anyway.
upper position.
Anyway, GSAT 30 weighs 3,357 kilograms,
Bord sont normaux.
6,000 watts of power,
I think I'd fly away as well.
Plus que
If
2
I
minutes
was-
de propulsion.
and it was built by
That goes to
Um,
the firepower.
ISRO,
10 minutes of
ISRO,
propulsion left on the main stage, he's telling us.
with C and KU band transmitters. ISRO, by the way, being short for Indian Space Research
Director of Space
Organization.
Transportation here from the European Space Agency here with us. It's an important launch for both the European Space Agency and the CNES, which is the French Space Agency, because obviously this is the first electric satellite that is being launched as part of their partnership with European industry.
Well, there's not actually a Wikipedia article for.
This is the tracking station, so our flight path takes us out
Acquisition
across
de la télémesure lanceur par la station de Natal au Brésil.
east across the Atlantic, across Africa, and he's just confirmed to us that we've picked up the signal at the tracking station in Natal. That's in Brazil, so that's the next one along. You can see it there on the northeastern coast of Brazil. So, as we fly into
But it was actually 10 launches ago. It was
follows us, and the launcher sends signals back down to that tracking station, and the tracking station then sends that information back here to the Guyana Space Center, and it's called telemetry. And
Le
telemetry, of
pilotage est
course,
calme, tous les paramètres bord sont nominaux.
he's telling us everything's normal and all the parameters are calm. Telemetry comes from the Greek. Tele, of course, means remote, as in television, and metron means measure. So we are measuring things from a distance.
right. So by the way, like earlier on,
One of the first data transmission circuits was developed in 1845. That was between the Russian Tsar's Winter Palace and Army
Extinction de
headquarters.
l'EPC sur commande de guidage.
didn't have them deal with the revolution
Séparation
though.
de l'EPC.
So he's confirmed we've switched off the engine.
Allumage de l'ESC.
on the main stage.
You can see the engine's
We
gimbal.
ejected the main stage, jettisoned it, and we've now switched on the engine on the upper stage. So we're really beginning the next phase of the journey now. The upper stage has taken the wheel, and its engine's going to burn for about 16 minutes.
Right, so earlier on I was talking about a launch where telemetry wasn't
Just a quick look on the right-hand side.
being
you
sent
can see
basically, where the
Eutelsat
rocket went off
Konnect
course.
is
That was
at
10 Ariane launches, Ariane 5 launches ago. That was VA241, this is
the black
VA251.
structure is called a cylinder, and inside that is our Indian satellite, GSAT 30. And the Indian teams we're seeing here from ISRO.
And so that particular
GSAT
launch was the
30
first
is a
launch
very
of
important
2018.
satellite for India, built by the Indian Space and Research Organization. Let's take a closer look.
Hello and welcome to the Guyana Space Center in Peru. Please let me introduce GSAT 30. GSAT 30 is an operational communication satellite designed and manufactured by ISRO, the Indian Space and Research Organization, in order to provide communication services from geostationary orbit for a mission life greater than 15 years.
GSAT 30 is a high-power communication satellite built on ISRO's standard I3K platform, meant to provide the continuity of the services to our country in the KU and C-band. The satellite was realized at URO Satellite Center with the able guidance of Chairman ISRO, Director URSC, and the support from Team ISRO and the industry partners.
GSAT 30 will be the 24th ISRO satellite launched by Ariane Space, following the launch of GSAT 31 less than 1 year ago, also on Ariane 5. Our cooperation with the Indian Space and Research Organization goes back to 1981, when Ariane Flight L03 launched the Apple spacecraft. It is always with great pleasure that we welcome at CSG our Indian friends. I wish all the best to GSAT 30 and the teams involved in the launch.
Right, so back to VA241. So, that was what I was talking about with how the animation is planned. The two things on the side are actual telemetry.
In the Mission Control Center. And we're delivering GSAT 30 today. We delivered GSAT 31 for India last year in February the 6th. So
Go figure out that order.
nearly a year ago. That was the first satellite of 2019, so that's quite a coincidence.
Well, so basically, VA241 telemetry was launched
So let's turn our attention now to our
about 9 minutes after launch.
Konnect. It's a hugely advanced satellite on several planets. We've been hearing that it's fully electric, but it's
Fully electric is not that big a deal anymore. But anyway, right, I'm just quieting it down because yeah, it's just press talk. So basically, for those of you who haven't heard VA241, the payloads were Alia 3 and SES 14. That happens everywhere. That happens quite frequently in my school. But anyway, right. So the telemetry was launched about 9 minutes after launch. Just about when the first and second stages separated. At that point, the broadcasters kept going on like everything was normal, just reporting, oh, and now we have acquisition of signal at ascension, and we have scheduled to have acquisition of signal, all that stuff. Which was bollocks, quite frankly. And they kept going on as if everything was like, oh, now we have scheduled separation of the thing, but no telemetry to confirm it. So about an hour after launch, Stefan Israel made a quick speech saying the launcher suffered an anomaly. Right, I'm going to read that out to you now. Ladies and gentlemen, so I come to give you some information because we have had an anomaly on this launch. Indeed, we lost contact with the launcher a few seconds after the ignition of the upper stage. At the time, we can consider that the upper competent satellites have been satellites, he said, which is just a bad translation of French. which means put into orbit. But as I said, we lost contact. So up to now, our customers do not have contact with the satellites. We need now some time to know if they have been separated and where they are exactly. To better analyze the consequence of this anomaly, I want to present my deepest excuses to our customers who have entrusted us one more time. We know that there is no launch with no risk. We know that launch is always difficult, and tonight Ariane 5 has had an anomaly. Let's take time now to better understand the situation of the satellites at Arianespace. In full transparency, we'll come back to you to provide you with some more information as soon as we have them. I apologize on behalf of Arianespace. They issued a press release late that night saying that the Natal tracking station did not acquire telemetry. Well, this is which lasts until the end of the mission, so I presume that just means no telemetry at all after that point. And the separation of both payloads was confirmed, together with their successful injection to Earth orbit and link acquisition by both customers. So, could have been worse. Same day, they issued a second press release saying SES and ESA, I presume it's Alia, confirmed the acquisition in good health of the two satellites, despite a deviation of their trajectory. Say that the telemetry was like 9 minutes and 26 seconds after T0. Alright, on 26th of January, SES said that the satellite was in good health, like basically it was working all fine. It would need to set up a new orbit raising plan, and that would thus reach geostationary orbit only 4 weeks later than originally planned. So they weren't. This shows that they were like they didn't get into as high in orbit as was necessary, or as high as GTO, geostationary transfer orbit. The launch of 45,000 kilometers in inclination of 3 degrees by the launch vehicle. This was confirmed later when the orbital element satellites was released, revealing that the deployment orbit's apogee had a minor deviation of about 2,000 kilometers, which, like when compared to 45,000, it's not good, but it ain't bad. It ain't too bad. No, the inclination was 18 degrees, which is a much bigger problem. Because especially for a satellite like this, because a geostationary satellite needs to be perfectly above the equator or as close to it as possible. Because it needs to hover over one point to provide coverage, like as they're showing here. If the thing moved up and down even, because it wouldn't just move up and down, it would kind of a figure of 8. That's not very good if you're making communication satellites. So yeah, the flight path anomaly became obvious when initial analysis showed the launch azimuth had gone wrong since the very beginning of the flight. Right. The unexpected slow roll maneuver just after liftoff. Oh, it says Sunrise 5 launch roll maneuver should only begin around 17 seconds after T0, which is about 10 seconds after liftoff. And so it seems we still don't know everything about it, presumably because Arianespace is a private company and haven't released the information. But the anomaly might have been due to a human error during the... or they haven't actually finished the investigation fully yet. The anomaly might have been due to a human error during programming of the guidance, navigation and control system. Combined with failed verification procedure according to early developments, the launch team reported not to double-check the guidance computer parameters to reduce workload duplication, even though double-checking them played the vital role in the rocket's reliability. But Arianespace and Ariane Group issued a statement saying all the control processes remain unchanged. They restructured the organization not directly from Ariane Group, affecting the launch team now with many Ariane Group engineers. Okay, so the rocket did not fly over Kourou, but flew very close to the city of Kourou. Oh, this is something interesting, because this is something that wasn't mentioned all during the broadcast. As you probably could have guessed, I was watching that one as well. As the range safety officer for this mission wants to destroy... Right. So the rocket did not overfly Kourou, but for the first time flew very close to the city. Instead of the launch of any rocket, it should have been immediately destroyed by either the range safety officer, or Sonboard autonomous flight termination system once the rocket flew off course. But at the point when the range safety officer for this mission wants to destroy the rocket, It was too late as it overflew close to the city of Kure, so destroying the rocket would have been potentially more dangerous, with debris raining down over Kure when continuing the flight. But investigation by CXA was released on 22nd of February. Oh, right, so the thing was meant to be, like, the launch azimuth was set to 90 degrees, which is normal for Ariane 5. However, for this launch it was meant to be 70. Which roughly matches up with that 17 degree difference, 17 to 18. Standard verification procedures missed the azimuth data, the reason of launching both satellites to a supersynchronous transfer orbit, not a GTO as I said earlier, so sorry about that. Was orbital ATK abruptly requested Arianespace to change the target orbit profile to SSTO in order to release the Aliyah 3 satellite at a right angle relative to the direction of motion of the rockets. Both satellites are now conduct their orbital makeup procedure by changing their maneuvering plan, which would extend mission time. STS-14 needed 4 weeks longer than planned commissioning time, meaning that entry in service now expected in August instead of July. So that should mean the thing is in orbit now. But it's still expected to meet its assigned lifetime, since it was originally to be launched on the Falcon 9, which would have required more propellant reserves, since it usually deploys geostationary satellites into high inclination orbit, just due to it launching from Cape Canaveral. SES informed NASA that they expect no effective quality of observation. The gold instrument, Aliyah 3, had more issues because it was conventionally powered. But it did enter service, it did get up there. However, it was reduced its lifetime was reduced to 9 years due to lack of propellant.
There's a series of satellites on platforms called Spacebus, and their Spacebus Neo is the new kid on the block. It's a very important satellite for Thales Alenia Space. Let's go over now to their CEO.
And what does NEO stand for?
This is an important launch.
I'm making a joke about it being called Spacebus and NEO. I'm referencing the Airbus
satellite Spacebus Neo, which we built for Eutelsat.
The Airbus NEOs.
Everyone at Thales Alenia Space feels personally involved in today's mission. Eutelsat is a forward-thinking company, and let me say how proud we are to partner with you once again on such an important satellite for your fleet. The new Konnect satellite is a jewel of advanced space technology. It combines innovation with state-of-the-art technology to offer a fully modular platform with an intelligent payload for high throughput and agile services in K-band. We developed it under the NeoSat partnership project conducted by the European Space Agency, ESA, and the French Space Agency, Konnect. Konnect is a pivotal part of Eutelsat's strategy to sustain its growth centered around connectivity. And it will play a lead role in bridging the digital divide in Africa and in Europe. The next major step forward will come in 2022 with Konnect VHTS, Very High Throughput Satellite, which we are currently building at Thales Alenia Space. I would like to
It'll be interesting to see that.
and the whole Eutelsat team for their trust in Thales Alenia Space and giving us the opportunity to provide this exceptional satellite.
Hey, for those.
Warmest thanks to Eutelsat, ESA, Konnect, Arianespace, and our teams at Thales Alenia Space for this tremendous achievement.
For those people wondering,
Just picking up there that we've got the signal now in Malindi in Kenya, and you can see at the top, the right-hand side of our screen, we're really climbing into space now, and our altitude on the bottom left, 531 kilometres high. Now, interestingly, Thales Alenia Space had to build a new container for the Konnect satellites, and it's big. It's about 5.5 meters wide and over 4 meters high, and it's so big that when they transported it along the motorway going along the south of France, they actually had to adjust the size of the péage, the toll, to widen it, to deepen the road to get it under bridges, and they had to modify some roundabouts. So thankfully the mayor of Cannes has been very understanding and helped them to ensure that they could transport their satellite.
I didn't know these things need to be transported by road
The propulsion is
that distance. I always assumed
so
like they would be built
powering at the moment with the
near
upper
the airports
stage
where
engine,
they'd be
but it's
flown out of.
getting ready to switch it off. It'll send the cut-off command when it senses that the launcher.
But then again, if I think about it, SpaceX does drive its Falcon 9s across the country,
track,
so.
on time, at the right altitude,
Extinction de l'ESC sur commande de guidage.
and going at the right speed, which is exactly what's happening now, because we've
Good,
had the
ballistic
confirmation
phase.
from the range operations manager that we are now able to switch the engine off, and that has
Début de
indeed
la
happened.
manœuvre d'orientation.
We're just a bit of a sudden, right, as you can see, you're ballistic.
And we've started the first orientation. Eutelsat. Now we have to put our satellite into a very
Okay.
precise and specific orbit.
Sure, I'm gonna
So
start.
we're in the what we call the ballistic phase. We're coasting without the engine.
Because that's what
we're on
ballistic
orbit.
means, without power.
We're
So when people say,
correct altitude and speed.
oh, he's gone ballistic, it's
So we're
quite a
getting ready
stupid
now
comparison.
for the next phase of the journey, getting ready to separate our satellites. In the meantime, the
I think people
guys
would
and
be
girls
referring
here
to
on this
ICBMs.
mountain inside what we call the CVI building are taking all the information from those tracking stations, all the telemetry that's being sent
Poursuite
from
nominale de la manœuvre.
And they're analysing everything to make sure everything's going
those
fine.
tracking stations, and they make a quick selection to check how the flight is progressing in real time, and they tell the range operations manager when they have the confirmation of those events, so that he or she can then announce those to the rest of us.
That's why there's a
The
slight delay
range.
between the planned event and the event actually being
And
confirmed.
then later these teams will analyse the information to see how the vehicle performed, and they can use that
To
vital
improve it in the
information
future.
to make adjustments for future flights. So our upper satellite, Eutelsat Konnect, is due to separate in just under a minute now. It's going through a very precise set of manoeuvres. Once we release it, it's going to travel to its final orbital slot in space, 36,000 kilometers above the Earth. We call that geostationary orbit.
Don't know why there's such a long coast phase.
Lots of satellites there, telecommunications.
After the SILD
satellites,
separation.
all kinds of important services to us. And right now, the upper stage is orientating itself.
Début de la mise en spin au profit d'Eutelsat Konnect.
So he's just announced the
There you
Séparation
can
du
see it.
satellite Eutelsat Konnect.
So
He's
there we
just
have
announced
confirmation.
the separation of the Eutelsat Konnect satellite.
You can see there's no applause because that is
And you have it there.
traditionally held
Successful
until
separation of our
both
first passenger
satellites are separated.
just off the east
Début de la
coast. Just off the east coast of Africa. So congratulations to the Eutelsat teams, Thales Alenia Space, European Space Agency and French Space Agency Konnect, but remember that we do still have
What do you mean
second
French Space
satellite
Agency?
attached,
I think you mean Konnect, French
and
Space
it's
Agency.
GSAT 30, and it's inside the fairing, the
Silda.
rather. The Silda was that black
Poursuite de la
structure you
manœuvre
can see.
d'orientation au
Wait,
profit du SILDA.
That's an acronym, but I
Started
don't
the
ask me to say it.
orientation
Basically means like
Movement
double
now,
launch
the
system for
orientation
Ariane or
maneuver,
something like
which
that.
will allow us to separate the Silda, which is a little bit like a fairing. It protects the satellite in the lower position, and it also provides the connection mechanism for the satellite in the upper position. And you can see how far we've come. We've travelled across the planet and higher into space. We're now over the Pacific Ocean off the east coast of Africa. That's what it looks like from up there. You can see
SILDA separation.
lancement double Ariane.
There you just heard what
it
SILDA
looks
stands
like
for.
when the SILDA is separated. He's just announced it there that we have the separation.
Rather that we have confirmation of the separation, but
Début de
yes.
la manœuvre d'orientation au profit du satellite GSAT 30.
And we're starting the orientation maneuver now to position our next satellite
GSAT
in
30.
the correct orientation for its separation. And we can see GSAT 30 on the right hand side of our screen. We can see it for the first time, kind of silvery gold colour. It's got its solar panels all folded up. The GSAT satellites are India's homegrown communications satellites. They're for
Poursuite
digital
nominale de la manœuvre d'orientation au profit de GSAT 30.
data and video broadcasting. They were developed and manufactured by their very own ISRO, the Indian Space and Research Organisation, who will also be operating them. So it's a very important satellite with a vital job to do.
See them testing all the mechanisms on it. See this, like solar panel deployment, the antenna deployment. If there's a problem with any of those things, you'd want to find out on the ground before it, like rather than when it's up in space. But I'm curious how they got that thing from India to Kourou. It's usually an Antonov 124, but of course I'm not 100% sure of that.
Is an integral part of our day-to-day life, and many services like television broadcasting, banking, broadband connectivity, and telephony are enabled through communication satellites stationed in the geostationary orbit far in space. In the past 3 decades, ISRO has launched and maintained a constellation of...
I like how they're using the
satellites
GSLV Mark III, which is
essential for
bare,
domestic
which is like launched maybe 3 times.
ISRO's GSAT series, with more than a dozen satellites in orbit, is dedicated to provide communications.
Then why is this a 30 at 1? I'm confused.
GSAT-30 spacecraft is a high-power communication satellite. It will replace the aging INSAT 4A spacecraft. The satellite is based on ISRO's standard I3K satellite bus
Poursuite nominale de la
and will
manœuvre
provide
d'orientation
12
au
normal
profit du
C-band
satellite
and
GSAT
12
30.
KU-band transponders.
The satellite has 3-axis stabilized, momentum-biased control system with a host of sensors,
Going to be honest,
reactors,
I've
and thrusters.
now reaction is thrusters.
GSAT-30
I understand, but
is an advanced
the other
communication
thing he said I
satellite
didn't understand.
with a lift-off mass of 3,357 kilograms to provide valuable communication services to the country for more than 15 years. This satellite will generate around 6 kilowatts of power. A host of new and advanced technologies are used to realize this satellite.
The satellite has 2 large propellant tanks accommodated within its central structural cylinder. Liquid apogee motor, which is GSAT-30's main engine, is mounted on a separate deck which interfaces with the bottom ring of the cylinder. The power system of the satellite comprises of deployable double-sided solar arrays.
Oh, double-sided,
for
now that's
generating
interesting.
power, and a lithium-ion battery.
The question is, does it
One
rotate or
8
not?
ampere-hour capacity.
It's
GSAT-30
double-sided and
communication
rotates, and
payload
it
is
fails to see the
equipped
point.
with 12 C-band transponders and 12 Ku-band transponders. C-band transponders are designed for two-way communication using VSAT terminals over a vast geographical region extending up to Australia in the east and Europe in the west.
GSAT-30 will provide continuity
And India at the
of
center.
direct-to-home TV services from this lot, as well as digital satellite news gathering and very small aperture terminal services. Ku-band transponders will provide services over Indian mainland and islands.
The onboard Ku-band beacon transmitter will help Earth stations to point their antennas precisely towards the satellite. GSAT-30 will be the 24th Indian satellite launched by the Ariane launch vehicle of Ariane Space. The Ariane 5V vehicle carrying GSAT-30 onboard Ariane 5 launch vehicle from the European spaceport in Kourou, French Guiana. First, the launcher will inject GSAT-30 into a 250 by 35,975 kilometer elliptical geosynchronous transfer orbit, commonly known as GTO. Subsequently, the satellite's orbit will be raised from the GTO to the final circular geostationary orbit, GSO, by controlled firing of its liquid apogee motor, LAM, in stages. The deployment of the solar panels and the antennas will commence as the satellite nears its geostationary orbital home.
The satellite employs high-power amplifiers and state-of-the-art antenna system to meet the requirements of multiple users.
With GSAT-30,
Well, that answers that. That's an answer of 124.
yet another milestone event.
Antonov Airlines as well.
Communications infrastructure.
I think we should be very soon having GSAT-30 deployment over India as well. You can just see India and Sri Lanka in the background.
So, India has a very ambitious space program. They're forging ahead with exciting
They do.
projects. They've got lots going on. Things like, for example, navigation, Earth observation,
Hold up, navigation.
broadcasting education.
Oh yeah, there is, but that's just local, so it's not
exploring other planets. And I think I'm right in saying they have 3 launch vehicles, so very, very progressive.
PSLV,
very
GSLV Mark II,
And of course, in terms
GSLV
of
Mark III.
takeoffs,
Yeah,
as we
I
know,
guess they're going to be testing a smaller satellite launch vehicle as well. So
And right now, GSAT-30 is heading out on its way to join its brothers and sisters in space, on its way to its new home. And right now we're 36
geostationary
minutes
orbit.
in, so a few more minutes before that happens. Our speed 7.71 kilometers. ISRO have packed their satellite with cutting-edge technology.
GSAT-30 was shipped to the launch base during early December, and the satellite preparation, integrated test, propellant loading, and the combined operations were carried out by our team and with a full-fledged support given by Ariane team. After the successful launch of Ariane V251 and the injection of GSAT-30 in the intended orbit, the master control facility at Hassan will take over the control. Subsequently, orbit raising maneuver, deployment and in-orbit tests will be carried out, and the satellite will be dedicated to the users.
don't know what that meant. Does that mean scheduled separation?
And indeed, space is all about relationships and working together. And the delivery of GSAT-30 is a great example of that, because it's a strong bond uniting Europe and India in space cooperation. France and India have been working together in space for over 3 decades. Ariane Space has orbited 23 satellites and signed 24 launch contracts with the Indian Space Agency. And the first one they launched was India's Apple experiment satellite. We heard about that earlier, and that was on Ariane flight L03. That was in 1981.
Alright, now we are almost at GSAT-30 separation.
About a minute now until the planned separation of our second passenger, ISRO's GSAT-30. Everyone concentrating hard. You can see it there on the left-hand side, and the upper stage twisting and turning there. These CGI images showing us what has been planned for this trip.
Séparation du satellite GSAT-30.
And
There you go.
separation of the GSAT-30 satellite. Great news. Ariane 5 has delivered her second passenger, GSAT 30, over the Indian Ocean. Over the Pacific. Oh no, the Indian Ocean, my apologies. So congratulations to everyone at ISRO and across India. Best wishes as you now.
As that was launch of Eutelsat Konnect and GSAT 30 on Ariane 5. 25. Goodbye.
So, successful
If this thing will
mission
cooperate.
today.